He smiled at her the same way he used to smile at me, right in front of our son's birthday cake. That was the moment everything inside me broke. Stick with me while I share my story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. It was a warm Saturday afternoon. Balloons swayed in the breeze, and laughter filled the backyard. I'd planned every detail of Liam's birthday, his favorite dinosaur cake, the bounce house, even handmade party bags. I wanted him to feel loved, to have a memory he could hold on to. I thought Kyle and I were finally turning a corner. We'd had some hard months, late work nights, fewer talks, more silence, but I believed if I kept trying, we could get back to where we used to be. Then I saw it. Kyle stood by the drink table, holding a red plastic cup and talking to someone. I glanced over, expecting a co-worker or one of the other dads, but it was Becca. She was laughing, touching his arm lightly, and him. He was grinning, leaning in too close, his hand resting just a little too low on her back. The way he looked at her, it wasn't casual, it was familiar. The kind of look he used to give me when we first met. The same stupid smirk that made me fall for him years ago. I froze. The paper plate in my hand trembled. All around me, kids were running and shouting. Liam was showing off his new soccer ball, and parents were chatting. But in that moment, all I could hear was my heart pounding. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But then Kyle looked at her the same way he used to look at me when I made him laugh. Soft eyes, warm smile. That smile wasn't for me anymore. I turned away and forced myself to smile through the rest of the party. I helped Liam open his gifts. I made sure every guest felt welcomed. I even handed Becca a slice of cake. But inside, I was crumbling. The betrayal didn't come with a loud bang. It came silently, like a quiet snap in the middle of a perfect day. Later that night, after Liam had gone to bed, I asked Kyle about it. I didn't yell. I just said, I noticed he and Becca seemed close. He laughed, said I was being paranoid, emotional, that I always make a scene. His words cut deeper than I expected. And suddenly I wasn't just doubting what I saw, I was doubting myself. But deep down, I knew. I knew the truth, even if he refused to say it. Something inside me changed that day. Something small and sharp began to grow. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment I stopped hoping and started planning. The morning after the party, I stood in the kitchen pouring Liam a bowl of cereal, but my mind was somewhere else. The image of Kyle smiling at Becca kept looping in my head like a scene I couldn't delete. I wanted to shake it off, to believe I was wrong, but the feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. When Kyle walked in, still groggy and scratching his head, I asked him again. I said calmly, "Do you have something going on with Becca?" His eyes narrowed, and he let out that dry laugh, the one he always used when he wanted to make me feel small. "Seriously, Jenna, you're paranoid. She's Liam's coach." "That's it," he said, grabbing a coffee mug without looking at me. I didn't push, not right away, but something shifted in me. His words didn't feel like comfort. They felt like a wall, like he was trying to shut me down before I could even explain what I saw. That whole week, things kept piling up. Kyle started coming home later than usual, blaming last-minute client calls or office emergencies. He changed the passcode on his phone. When I asked why, he shrugged and said it was for work privacy. A new cologne appeared on the bathroom shelf, something musky and expensive. He claimed a co-worker gave it to him as a gift. I didn't remember any co-worker ever being that generous. I tried to stay normal for Liam's sake, but kids notice things. One night, while I was tucking him into bed, he looked at me and asked, "Are you mad at Daddy?" I swallowed hard and forced a smile, telling him everything was fine. But in my heart, I knew it wasn't. Even the little things started to change. Kyle stopped asking about my day. He forgot to say goodnight sometimes. We were living in the same house, but it felt like I was a stranger standing next to him. Each day felt colder, heavier. I was trying to believe the best, but Kyle was making it harder. His words said, "You're imagining things," but his actions screamed something else. And slowly, I started to accept the truth I didn't want to face. My husband wasn't just pulling away, he was hiding something, and I wasn't going to be blind to it anymore. I didn't want to become the kind of wife who snooped. I really didn't, but something inside me kept whispering, "You already know." And that whisper got louder with every strange excuse Kyle gave me. One afternoon, while he was at a client dinner, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at his tablet. He rarely used it anymore, but he hadn't bothered locking it. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I didn't know what I was looking for, just that I couldn't keep sitting in the dark. There wasn't much, but I found a calendar entry that made my stomach twist. Meeting Becca, 6:30 p.m. Apartment, Dobie. That was the same night he told me he'd be stuck at the office past 9. I felt like the air had been punched out of me. I didn't say anything that night. I just watched him. How casually he kissed the top of my head. How easily he smiled as he talked about a made-up meeting. His lies rolled off his tongue like second nature. A few days later, Liam and I were walking home from school when he pointed toward a small apartment complex just 2 blocks away. "Coach Becca lives there now," he said cheerfully, swinging his backpack. "She gave me a Spider-Man toy before my birthday. Daddy said it was a secret surprise." I stopped walking. My heart dropped. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked gently, trying to stay calm. Liam shrugged. "She gave it to me when we went to her house. Daddy said not to tell you." I managed a nod and kept walking, but inside, I was on fire. That was it. The lie wasn't just in my head. It was real. Kyle didn't just know Becca. He was going to her apartment, buying toys, making secret visits. And worst of all, he involved our son in his little game. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about all the nights Kyle came home late smelling like that new cologne, the way he brushed off my question, how easily he flipped things on me, made me doubt myself. Now I had facts, a location, a timeline, a toy I didn't buy. I sat on the floor of our bedroom and cried, not because I didn't expect it, but because now there was no turning away. I couldn't pretend anymore. I wasn't just a wife with a gut feeling. I was a woman who'd just watched the truth step out of the shadows, and suddenly I wasn't scared. I was focused. He thought I wouldn't find out. He thought I'd stay quiet, but he didn't know what I was capable of once I stopped loving him and started seeing him for who he really was. I drove to my brother Miles's bakery without calling first. My hands were shaking the whole ride. I couldn't stop replaying Liam's words, that innocent little voice telling me about the toy Becca gave him, about the secret Daddy told him to keep from Mommy. My heart had been heavy for weeks, but now it felt shattered. Miles took one look at me when I walked in and wiped flour off his hands. "What's wrong?" he asked, guiding me to the back where it was quieter. The smell of fresh bread should have been comforting, but nothing could calm the storm in my chest. I broke down the moment I sat on the stool. Tears, gasps, everything I'd held in just came pouring out. I told him everything. Becca, the lies, the toy, the tablet entry, Kyle's smirk. Miles listened without interrupting, just handing me a towel instead of a tissue like he always did when we were kids. When I finished, he leaned against the counter and crossed his arms. "You want me to go knock his teeth out?" he asked. I actually laughed through my tears. "No," I whispered. "I don't want him hurt. I want him exposed." Miles's eyes narrowed a bit. "You're thinking something. I want to humiliate him," I said. "But I don't want to scream. I want to bake." Miles blinked. "Bake?" I nodded, wiping my cheeks. "It's his birthday next month. He thinks I don't know. He thinks I'm still playing the clueless wife. But I want to give him a cake he'll never forget. Something sweet, on the outside." Miles tilted his head, then slowly started to smile. "You want me to help you bake revenge into a layer cake?" "Exactly," I said. In that warm little bakery, between bags of flour and stacks of cookie trays, we began planning. Not violence, not screaming matches. Just the truth, delivered in the most unforgettable way possible. I wanted Kyle to feel what I felt. Blindsided, shaken, alone in a room full of people. If he wanted to play pretend in front of everyone, then I'd give him a show that ended with the spotlight on him and no way to escape. I stood in the kitchen that evening, stirring spaghetti, while Kyle scrolled through his phone at the table. I could feel his eyes glancing up now and then, trying to guess my mood. I'd spent the last few days being calm, too calm. No more tears, no more questions. Just a soft smile, a warm dinner, and casual conversation. I played the role of the forgiving wife, and Kyle, he fell for it. "So, I was thinking," I said lightly, twirling a spoon through the sauce. "Your birthday's coming up." He looked up, a little surprised. "Yeah?" I nodded. "I thought maybe I could plan something. You know, for us, for the people who matter." Kyle leaned back in his chair, smirking like he'd just won some silent battle. "Really? I figured you'd still be mad about the party drama." I shrugged. I overreacted. "You were right. I've just been tired and emotional." I turned to meet his eyes. "I want to make things right." He smiled, that same smile that once melted me, but now just made my stomach turn. "Okay then. Yeah, let's do it." And that's how the plan began. I told him I wanted it at the house. Simple, intimate, like old times. Kyle didn't ask many questions. He assumed I was trying to win him back. And maybe a small part of me wanted him to squirm, just a little, wondering if he'd truly gotten away with it. But mostly, I wanted the stage set. The next few days, I started calling and messaging people. His parents were the first on the list. His mother loved to act like I was never good enough, but she still liked to show off her perfect family. I made sure to invite Kyle's co-workers, the ones he bragged to about our life. The real challenge was Becca. I waited until Kyle was in the room, pretending to fold laundry. I was thinking, I said casually, maybe we should invite Becca too. Liam likes her and, well, if I'm really moving forward, I should let go of the past. Kyle looked at me, stunned for a second, then smiled slowly. Wow, yeah, that's really mature of you. Mature, that's what he called it. I smiled back, my heart pounding. I just want everyone you care about to be there. He nodded. Sounds perfect. Perfect. That's what he called it. What he didn't know was that every single name on that invitation list was someone I wanted watching when the truth came out. I wasn't planning a party, I was planning a reckoning, and everyone he'd ever tried to fool was going to see exactly who Kyle Calloway really was, served with candles, frosting, and a side of cold justice. Miles didn't ask too many questions at first. He just listened while I explained my idea, standing in the warm kitchen of his bakery, the scent of vanilla and sugar thick in the air. When I finished talking, he looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. You sure you want to do this? He asked, voice low. I've never been more sure of anything, I said. We got to work that night. It wasn't just about baking a cake. It was about creating something that would tear through Kyle's perfect image like a knife through frosting. The cake would have 6 layers, tall and elegant. On the outside, it would look beautiful, smooth white icing, gold accents, and delicate lettering that read, "To a wonderful man, happy birthday." But inside, that was where the truth lived. Each layer hid a different piece of proof. I printed screenshots of Kyle's flirty texts to Becca, slipping them between sheets of clear fondant. There were receipts for the flowers he sent her, the perfume she wore that Liam said smelled like Daddy's car. I even found a copy of the lease Kyle had co-signed for her apartment, 2 blocks away from our house. He'd lied to my face, said he was just helping a friend, but friends don't get secret apartments paid for by married men. Miles carefully helped me fold the inserts into the cake layers, making sure they'd stay hidden until it was cut. It felt strange, stuffing betrayal into something sweet, but it also felt right. I added one last message at the top, just beneath the final layer of frosting. It was simple, in bold black letters on sugar paper. Happy birthday, Cheetah. Enjoy your cake. By the time we finished, it was nearly midnight. The bakery was quiet, lit by one soft lamp, and Miles handed me a cup of tea. You're calm, he said. I'm focused, I replied. The cake was boxed and sealed, looking like any beautiful birthday dessert. But I knew what was really baked into it. Lies, betrayal, and the truth Kyle thought he'd buried. He had no idea that every bite would come with a taste of justice. The party started like any other. Kyle walked around greeting his guests, flashing that smug smile I used to love. Our living room was filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the scent of catered food. His parents were there, his co-workers, some old college buddies, and of course Becca. She wore a red dress and barely looked at me. Kyle kept glancing her way when he thought I wasn't watching. I played the perfect wife, smiling, topping off drinks, laughing at the right moments. No one could tell I was holding back a storm. The cake sat on the dining table, covered in a smooth white fondant shell with golden trim, and the words, "To a wonderful man, happy birthday," written across the top. People oohed and ahed when they saw it. When it came time to cut the cake, I tapped my glass and stood beside Kyle. I just want to say a few words, I said, raising my glass. Tonight is a celebration of love, loyalty, and truth. Kyle smirked and threw an arm around me like everything was perfect. I looked him in the eyes. May we always get what we truly deserve. He laughed, not catching the edge in my voice. Then I handed him the knife. He sliced through the first layer, and that's when it began. Thin slips of fondant with printed messages started sliding out with the cake, like little edible secrets. At first, people just looked confused. Then someone leaned in and read aloud, "Dinner was amazing. Can't wait to kiss you again. K." Another insert slipped onto the plate, a printed receipt from the jewelry store. Becca's bracelet, not mine. Then the lease. Becca's name. Kyle's signature. The room fell into a stunned silence. Becca stepped forward and stared at the documents. Her cheeks turned crimson. Kyle dropped the knife. It's not what it looks like. Jenna, what the hell is this? I folded my arms. This is your cake. I just added the ingredients you left lying around. His friends exchanged awkward glances. His mother sat down hard in a chair, her mouth open. Becca turned on her heel and stormed out without saying a word. I didn't stay much longer. I kissed Liam goodnight, thanked the guests for coming, and walked out with my head high. Behind me, Kyle stood frozen in the wreckage of his lies, the cake crumbling at his feet. The truth had been served, and it was sweeter than I ever imagined. Kyle called me 10 times that night. I didn't answer a single one. After the party, I packed an overnight bag for Liam and me, then drove us to my brother Miles's house. Liam was quiet in the back seat, holding his stuffed dinosaur. He didn't ask questions, but I could tell he knew something wasn't right. The next morning, Kyle posted a long message in our neighborhood group chat, claiming I'd hijacked his birthday and embarrassed him over a misunderstanding. He said, I blew things out of proportion and ruined our family over a few texts. I almost laughed. A few texts? A secret apartment leak? The toy from Becca? He didn't even deny the affair. He just painted himself as the victim. His parents saw the post, but they didn't say a word. The night of the party, they were shocked. I saw the way his mother looked at the cake inserts, her face pale and mouth pressed tight. She used to think I wasn't good enough for her son. Now, she couldn't even look me in the eye as I walked out. As for Becca, she disappeared. No messages, no explanations. She didn't return to Liam's soccer practice the next week. A new coach stepped in, and no one mentioned her again. Kyle came by Miles's place once. He stood outside, looking lost, holding flowers in one hand and a little box in the other, probably a weak apology. I didn't open the door. Miles did. He told him I wasn't home. Kyle didn't come back after that. By the end of the week, word had spread. His co-workers knew. Some of our neighbors too. He became the guy who got exposed at his own party. The guy who thought he could cheat in peace and still eat his cake. I filed for divorce quietly. No shouting, no fights. Just calm, cold paperwork. The bridges Kyle burned weren't just between us. They were with his son, his family, and even his own pride. I walked away with my dignity, and more importantly, with Liam. He was what mattered most. And Kyle? He was left with nothing but the crumbs. The day I signed the divorce papers, I didn't cry. I thought I might. I thought it would hurt more than it did. But all I felt was relief, like I'd been holding my breath for years, and finally exhaled. The court process was quicker than I expected. Kyle didn't fight much. Maybe he was embarrassed. Maybe he just wanted to get it over with. He tried to act like the victim at first, but my lawyer had everything. The texts, the lease, even pictures of him outside Becca's place. Miles testified too, calmly, clearly, sharing how Kyle's behavior had impacted Liam and me. It made all the difference. I got primary custody of Liam. I also got the house. Kyle moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. We kept communication limited to Liam's visits. I didn't want to see him unless it was about our son, and even then, I preferred texts. No more yelling, no more manipulation, just boundaries. As for me, I needed to rebuild, not just my life, but myself. That's when Miles handed me an apron and said, "It's time you baked for yourself." At first, I just helped him clean the bakery in the mornings while Liam was at school. But soon I found myself watching the way he decorated cakes, kneaded dough, piped icing. One afternoon, he let me try frosting a cupcake. I messed it up completely, but I laughed for the first time in weeks. So I signed up for a beginner's baking class at the community center. I thought I'd feel out of place, like the sad woman trying to find herself. But everyone there had a story. Some were divorced, like me. Some just needed a new hobby. Some were grieving. We baked, shared stories, and laughed over lopsided cookies and burnt pastries. Liam started smiling again. I noticed it one day when we made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. He giggled when one came out looking like a duck. That sound, it made everything worth it. He was adjusting, slowly, but he felt safe. That mattered most. One weekend, he helped me bake a strawberry shortcake for Miles's birthday. As we whipped the cream, he asked if we could open our own bakery someday. I smiled and said, "Maybe we will." I didn't have all the answers yet, but for the first time in years, I had hope, a clean slate, a new recipe, and just a little sprinkle of joy. The room smelled like vanilla and warm sugar as Jenna walked into the single mums event, balancing the cake carefully in her arms. It was a simple 2-tiered vanilla sponge, frosted in soft pink buttercream. with delicate white piping. But it wasn't just a cake, it was a message. Written in elegant swirls across the top were the words, "Don't settle for crumbs when you can bake the whole cake yourself." When she placed it on the center table, a few women came over to admire it. One asked if she was a professional baker. Jenna smiled and said, "Not yet." They laughed, and someone offered her a cup of coffee. It wasn't long before they asked her story, how she'd started baking, what inspired the quote on the cake. Jenna didn't share every detail, but she told enough, that she'd spent years in a marriage where she felt invisible, that she found out about her husband's affair on their son's birthday, that she decided not to scream or break things, but to bake a cake that told the truth. Some gasped, others clapped quietly. A few women nodded with tears in their eyes, as if they'd lived their own versions of her story. Jenna realized, in that moment, that healing wasn't just about moving on. It was about showing others they could too. She watched as slices of her cake were passed around, as women laughed and connected, as children ran past with frosting on their cheeks. There was no sadness left in her heart, only a quiet kind of peace, a feeling of wholeness. Later, as she packed up her things, one young mum came over and whispered, "Thank you, I needed that. I've been feeling like crumbs are all I deserve." Jenna squeezed her hand and replied, "You deserve the whole cake." As she drove home, the sky turning a soft gold with evening light, Jenna thought about how far she'd come, from heartbreak to hope, from silence to strength. Her life was no longer about revenge. It was about building something sweeter, for herself, for Liam, and maybe one day, for others just like her. And this time, the sweetness was real. Do you think Jenna was right to expose Kyle in front of everyone, or should she have handled it privately for the sake of their son? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you think. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss one.